What up, Raffalitos? Welcome back to my channel. Thursday morning in Guyana. It's about 6:30 in the morning. And I just wanted to show you an update on what's happening at Lamaha Street and Dennis Street. So we're at the corner of Middleton Street. That's Middleton Street looking north. And this is Dennis Street. So Lamaha Street becomes Dennis Street east of Middleton Street. So that is Dennis Street looking east. It's still under construction. This construction goes all the way to Sheriff Street. And I've walked along this construction previously before they covered it with red sand. That's Middleton Street looking south. That's Middleton Street looking south. And this is Lamaha Street. So they've resurfaced Lamaha Street. Last time we were here, I think several months ago, this street was torn up and they still had lots of work to do on it. They were building this concrete drain. So this concrete drain is being converted into, the canal is being converted into concrete drains around the city. So Lamaha Street has undergone that process. Don't know if they're covering the bottom with concrete though. This is Kitty, so on the western side of Middleton Street, that's Kitty, and the eastern side is Campbellville. So this is Campbellville. And then below Dennis Street, that's also Campbellville, that's Section K Campbellville, as we call it. I think Section K is on the eastern side of Sheriff Street. So this is still Campbellville, Newtown, Kitty, that's Newtown. South of Lamaha Street is Newtown, and north of Lamaha Street is Kitty. So this is what Kitty Newtown boundary looks like, the boundary between Kitty and Newtown. This is Lamaha Street. The other thing about Lamaha Street is that it's strange. Lamaha Street extends all the way to Main Street and High Street, because Main Street becomes High Street at Lamaha Street at that intersection. But Lamaha Street also continues, at least the name gets used again once you cross over the train line. So this street, Middleton Street, goes north towards the seawall, but once you cross over the train line, it becomes Lamaha Street again. So that's an interesting bit of confusion. It still plagues the city. This is, somebody's dropped a teddy bear, some trash on the side of the road. But this is what has happened since the last time we were here. This canal, Lamaha Street Canal, has been converted into a drain. They've built retaining walls on both sides of the canal. I'm not so sure if they actually covered the bottom of the canal with a sea floor of cement, but this is what it looks like now. And Lamaha Street has now been upgraded, in other words widened. It's not significantly wide, it's about twice as wide as it was before. They seem to have used up some of the space that the canal and the shoulder parapet took up. So this is what it looks like now. It's actually about as wide as, I guess, 2 lanes. So, but it's one way. It's a one-way at this section heading east. I think it is one way, I'm not too sure. Anyway, so this is what it looks like. This is Newtown. So these houses that line Lamaha Street, facing Lamaha Street, are in Newtown. But on the other side, the houses that are abutted against the back end of the houses against this canal are in Kitty. And Lamaha Street therefore represents a boundary between these two neighborhoods. Now, Kitty and Campbellville, Newtown, these were once the suburbs of Georgetown. They were actually very close to downtown, like a mile away from the downtown area, but they were completely residential. These were all houses where people live, but over the years, over the last 50 years or so, they've also become commercial establishments. So people have built their shops on the ground floor and are now living on the top floor. Kitty was more like countryside. There are people rearing sheep and cows and goats in Kitty, at least the western side of Kitty, western end of Kitty. And that's still the case, because if you go along the train line road in Kitty, which we've done several times, you will see livestock grazing, horses, cows, cattle, and goats on the side of the road. And so that was the history of Kitty. Kitty was more like countryside 50 or 60 years ago, but it was also very close to the city, so you could have commuted, in other words, worked in the downtown section of the city, lived in Kitty, and enjoyed the best of both worlds, being city life and country life. This, see, I don't remember the name of this street, but they've actually built these new bridges connecting Kitty neighborhood to Lamaha Street. This is one of those bridges. And morning. This is a street in Kitty. Don't remember the name of it. But this is what the nearness or the living in Kitty was like. In other words, living in Kitty was actually being able to enjoy a peaceful countryside existence, but within walking distance of downtown Georgetown. And that still exists, right? That's still the case. Kitty is still one of the nearest suburbs with the access to country life, as I said. Now this is what Lamaha Street, close to the intersection with Lissinger Road, has become.
Distance 2 miles. Duration 28 minutes 47 seconds. Pace 19 minutes 44 seconds per mile.
So the street becomes wider as you get closer to Lissinger Road, but also the houses. Remember, this was also once a residential neighborhood. The houses were pretty much completely residential back in the 1950s, the 1960s, and so on. But over the years, people have started to build larger, newer concrete homes. So let's see, in between these buildings, you can see somebody's putting up a pretty tall concrete structure. And so Newtown is becoming not just residential, but one of the places where the houses are being renovated into mansions. And that's happening more and more south as you get closer to, say, Bel Air. That's at Bel Air Park. The south end of this Newtown neighborhood is Bel Air Park, so that's beginning to be gentrified. Well, not in the sense of racially gentrified, but in terms of money. Now this is what's happening here. This is the intersection, or this is where the Lamaha Street embankment begins at the eastern end, and where the train line turns. So there's a train line here before, and that train line turns north or to the east. Turns east at this point. It's heading northeast. And this part of the city was closest to the train line, was accessible to the train line. There was, I think, Station Street, Kitty, a few blocks north of this area. So there was a station, train station, close to the Kitty Market, and that's how that street got its name. And now this train station, this Lamaha Street embankment where the train line was embedded, has become, they've turned that into a park. And you've listened to many of my rants on previous videos where I suggested that this should have retained the right of way for a train, for a future train. We will continue to talk about that in future. There's some more investigations at the western end of this Lamaha Street, which I'm going to get into as we investigate some of the old structures that still exist there that pertain to the train line. But this is what Lamaha Street has become. They've made it wider at this end. This is the end close to Lexington Road, and you can see the retaining wall takes up more of the canal, but the canal has only retaining wall on one side. In other words, the other side of the canal does not have a retaining wall, which makes the canal looks wider, but it's because you don't have a retaining wall on the north side of the canal. And now they're just parking. Now we still have a problem with these trucks parking on the sidewalk in the city. They should actually be restricted to zones, industrial zones outside the city, where you park your truck outside of the city at night and you commute to pick up your truck just for work the next day. But we're still not that sophisticated yet. But this is what's happening here. Lamaha Street has been widened. This project has been completed. The retaining wall has been built, and the street has been resurfaced. How long it will last, that's a question we will answer in a few months as we revisit Lamaha Street. But the neighborhood is also being rejuvenated by the placement of this new road, and access to the city, I guess, is improved, and it does represent some degree of progress. So this is what's happening. Some people have been asking for a review of Kitty neighborhood, because a lot of people have fond memories of Kitty. I think a lot of people migrated from Kitty over the years, and those people still want to see what is happening in their old neighborhood. We're going to get in follow-up updates of Kitty, but for today we're just talking about this end of Lamaha Street, the eastern end of Lamaha Street. That's Lamaha Street, the Lexington Road at this intersection. This is the Lexington Road. Lamaha Street continues across this intersection, where it has already been widened, at least a bit, quite close to the Lexington Road section. But this is what it looks like now that it's been completed. Want to see more content like this? Click like and subscribe. Share this video with friends and family around the world. In the comments below, tell me what you think about transformation.